What is going on, Colts fans? Welcome to today's episode of Colts Latest. I'm your host, Scott Reiman, coming to you once again from San Rafael, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. Before we get started on today's episode, huge shout out to FanArch, because without FanArch, none of this would be possible. Do me a favor, check out their website, fanarch.com. If you're a sports fan, you're going to love it. They've got awesome content on the NFL, MLB, NBA, so much great sports content. Check them out, fanarch.com. Also, huge thanks to our sponsor, Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at season's end? It's going to be the Colts. On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. I've been doing my Colts pick of the week mid-show this week, but today I'm going to do something a little different, so stay tuned for that. And please like my videos on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and subscribe to the Colts Latest channel on YouTube so we can hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. All right, we're going to start with the bad news that actually ended up being not so bad. You know that every day, I and Colts fans all over the world hold our collective breaths that the team won't be struck with a major injury. I mean, you look around the league and it seems like every day a different team is hit by the injury bug. Yesterday, it was Texans wide receiver Jaden Higgins who was diagnosed with a torn ACL, putting him out for the season. Chargers starting center and former Badger Tyler Biadasz is also out indefinitely with an ACL, and Saints running back Alvin Kamara is out at least a month with an MCL injury, and that was just yesterday. But so far, Alec Pierce recovery aside, the Colts have been fairly lucky in the injury department. CJ Allen had the hammy, but he's back. Mooney Ward has been out with a back injury that, frankly, I am starting to get a little concerned about, but still nothing concretely serious. But that luck appeared to come to an end yesterday as tight end Tyler Warren left practice with what was suspected to be a groin injury. With the Colts already thin at pass catcher, even with the signing of Keenan Allen, Tyler Warren is not a player they can afford to lose. So all day after the news that he left practice, Colts fans again held their collective breaths. If it was indeed a groin strain, then he'd be looking at missing 2 to 3 weeks of practice minimum, depending on the severity. Luckily, late last night, Jordan Schultz reported that it was an abductor strain that Warren suffered, but in the words of a source, quote, he's going to be fine, end quote, and is not expected to miss much time, if any. He'll sit out today, and he was already not playing on Saturday. Hopefully, he'll be back next week. Phew. So the Colts seemingly dodged a bullet yesterday, but it serves as a reminder of just how fragile a season can be and how one injury can derail the whole thing at any time. Not that the Colts needed that reminder, but let's make sure that this thing heals and doesn't linger into the season. If that means sitting out until the week leading up to the Ravens game, so be it. He got some good reps in at camp, some good work with Daniel Jones. Let this thing heal. So that was the bad news from yesterday's joint practice with the Falcons, but it was just about the only bad news for the Colts in Westfield yesterday. Now, starting with the offense, they had put out a couple of poor showings at their most recent practices, so it was a welcome sight today when Daniel Jones went a reported 14 for 14 against the Falcons. That's what we like and need to see from Daniel Jones in this offense. Ashton Dulin, Josh Downs, and surprisingly Seth McGowan were 3 of the standout performers at catching passes. Another great sign for McGowan winning the RB2 role. Colts may have found a 7th-round steal in Seth, and I can just see CA rolling his eyes at me right now. Now, as for the backups, Riley Leonard got the bulk of the second-team work, going 8 for 11, with Anthony Richardson going 3 for 3 on his one drive of the day. Today, Richardson's going to get the bulk of the work with the second team, but remember, Riley Leonard is going to start and play the first half on Saturday. And the pressure's on Riley Leonard this weekend. I mean, another poor performance, and the QB2 job could be locked up before the final preseason game against the Lions is even played. And we finally got a bit of an update from Shane Steichen regarding Alec Pierce's status. And if you believe him, it's good news. Steichen said, quote, Alec is in a great spot right now. I watched him work out Tuesday in the indoor facility, and he's moving around really good. Hopefully we have him back soon, end quote. So it's not as positive as he'll be back tomorrow, but again, unless Shane Steichen is just trying to pull one over on us, it sounds like Pierce is looking good in his workouts. And with the tough start to the schedule, if the Colts were to be without Pierce and Warren for a few games, they could find themselves 0-3 and heading to London. Now, I'd rather have them healthy and a bit rusty than not out there at all, so I repeat, let them heal. They're veterans. Daniel Jones is a veteran. It won't take them long to shake off the rust and hit their stride. Keenan Allen arrived at camp and is expected to participate in individual drills today. Guys, I know CA says it means nothing, but the relationship between Shane Steichen and Keenan Allen is not to be overlooked. Allen called Steichen a genius multiple times, and in return, Steichen called Allen the most cerebral wide receiver he's ever been around. Allen acknowledged his familiarity with the offense, calling the Colts a perfect fit for him. Now, with how much Steichen and Allen communicate, it's hard to believe that this move wasn't basically made weeks, if not months ago. But I agree with Keenan. He is the perfect fit for this team. He fits exactly what they're missing, what Michael Pittman Jr. left behind, and I think he's going to be a major contributor in a somewhat reserved role from what he's used to. But even with that role, I mean, like I said, he only played 55% of snaps last year and still led the Chargers in receptions. This guy does not need to be on the field every play in order to make a difference. All right, I'm going to get to the defense in a minute, but first it's time for our new weekly segment. So my Kalshi Colts pick of the week is usually going to be some kind of prop or futures bet. Over under on yardage for a player, an alternate spread, first touchdown scored, fun stuff like that. But once a week, I'm going to do a special segment where I dive a bit deeper into the upcoming game and pick a winner. So this week, we've got the Colts and the Falcons in Indy. And look, I know the Colts don't usually perform well in preseason, but I think a lot of that is that in the past, they've had very top-heavy teams. And when you're a top-heavy team and you don't play your starters, you're not going to win a lot of games. Well, this team isn't top-heavy. This team actually has some depth. Not at all the positions, mind you, but on both sides of the ball, there are guys who will be at the end of the 53-man roster who can still play ball. Guys like Seth McGowan, Will Mallory, Anthony Richardson, Caden Curry, George Gums, Bryce Betcher, and Hunter Wohler. Now, you know what team is top-heavy? The Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates. Behind their studs, the Falcons are not a good team. There's a reason they were one of the few teams ranked below the Colts in those future power rankings we talked about yesterday. And their quarterback situation? It doesn't really matter who's out there this weekend. Tua reportedly looked terrible in practice yesterday, and if Michael Penix can't beat him out for the starting job, he's not going to be much better. Now, obviously, in preseason, and in the regular season for that matter, anything can happen. I mean, that's why they play the game. But man, with two quarterbacks that have something to prove and position battles up and down the roster, I think the Colts are going to come out hot in front of the home crowd for the first time. And as you can see here, right there, the public clearly agrees. But that doesn't mean you still can't make some money on it. A $100 wager on Kalshi would return just over $150 for a $50 profit. Now, if you're like me and you think the Colts are going to play this game to win, that's a free $50 right there. And remember, if you use code FANARCHFOOTBALL when you sign up for Kalshi, you get $10 free when you trade $10. So you sign up with FANARCHFOOTBALL, you deposit $10, you get a free $10, you put that $20 on the Colts to win, they win, and boom, you have turned your $10 into $30. Can you guys tell I like to gamble? So that's my pick this week, Colts over Falcons. Remember to gamble responsibly, folks. And no one's making me say that. That's just coming from me and a lifetime of experience. All right, back to yesterday's practice with the defensive report. And like the offense, it was mostly good news. Now, how much of that was because of the Colts defense as opposed to the poor play of Tua Tagovailoa is hard to say, but it was still an impressive performance nonetheless. The defensive standout of the day was definitely Justin Wally, who jumped a zone route to pick off Tua and take it to the house. But Latu had a sack, AJ Halsey had a tackle for loss, and the defense just made Tua look awful. But maybe Tua is awful. Either way, it's nice to see. Now, Kevin Bowen reported that Akeem Davis-Gaither and Jalen Carleys have been seeing more snaps with the first team as Lou Anarumo continues his rotation at linebacker. Now, I don't know if he's just waiting for a couple guys to step up and take the starting job, or as he's been saying, he's going to continue to use a rotation into the season. It was originally thought that CJ Allen would be the starting Mike linebacker and green dot guy, basically running the defense, but the reps he's missed at camp have handed those duties off to Cam Bynum, and now Allen potentially finds himself in a rotation. But his absence, combined with strong play from presumable backups Bryce Betcher, Jalen Carleys, and Austin Ajike, make a rotation seem much more possible, if not just a better idea altogether. Utilize each of these players' strengths to fit the game script. Now, how Anarumo slots the linebackers in will be one of the more interesting storylines coming out of camp. Finally, the kickers kicked again, and Blake Grupe was perfect again, and Spencer Schrader missed wide left again. Grupe's just widening the gap with every practice, but he could use a big clutch kick in a game this weekend, like Schrader had last week, just to cement it. Now, what are your takeaways from yesterday's practice, and what and who are you looking forward to seeing on Saturday? And what's your prediction for the game, for that matter? Do you think I'm right with my Kalshi pick? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's get to your comments from yesterday. I'm going to start with Al TG, who may not even be watching, as he declared he is unsubscribing and is done with Colts Latest for good due to my disrespect I show Anthony Richardson. Now, in his rambling departure announcement, Al said something about me not getting any comments on my live show, but I've never done a live show, so I'm not really sure what he's talking about there. Al TG, wherever you are, when Anthony Richardson catches on somewhere else and becomes an all-pro QB, I expect you to come back and give me an I told you so, but something tells me I'm not going to be hearing from you anymore. And Ben Jones, Ben, I'm glad you're still here, and you'll be happy to know that the powers that be at FanArch are making a concerted effort to have the episode titles at least have something to do with the content. For example, yesterday's episode was about the Keenan Allen signing, and the title was, "This is Perfect for the Colts." I mean, that fits, right? I can't promise that they'll all match up perfectly, but the effort is being made, I promise you. And CA, I appreciate you having my back with Al. Even though we disagree about football and go at each other, you're still a good dude, so thanks for that. Now, our buddy Forrest thinks the power ranking is deserved for now, but he's ready to make the talking heads go pop. And it was starting to happen last year before everything went awry. Let's get back to where we were week 10 last year when the pundits were finally starting to come around and show the Colts some respect. And Forrest also wants a 6th linebacker and 5th safety to replace the 2 extra defensive linemen that he pulled from the 11 that Kevin Bowen predicted. Now, if either West Weeks, Devin Verasuk, or Taj Chambers, as you suggested, can stand out over the next 2 weeks, then that's a possibility. I mean, linebacker is certainly the most shallow of the positions on the roster right now. And as for Hunter Wohler staying healthy, I'm worried about that too. And I think a 5th safety is probably where I'd add. But man, you're letting go of multiple capable defensive linemen at a position where injury is also a factor. So it's a tough call, and you're right. We need to see how the last 2 games play out before we make a final judgment. Oh, and Allen and Burks definitely sounds more like a clothing line than a law firm. Dennis Douglas is stoked about Keenan Allen and agrees that the role that Allen will have with the offense is not being a focal point, but a solid contributor. But CA thinks Allen is going to have to be the wide receiver 1 because Pierce will be in and out of the lineup all year, and Downs definitely isn't a wide receiver 1. Now, it would take multiple unfortunate occurrences for Allen to rise to the top pass-catching target. Now, one of those unfortunate occurrences almost happened yesterday when Tyler Warren went down. Yes, I include him even though he's a tight end because he's going to be one of the target leaders on the team. Now, if Pierce and Warren were to both happen to miss week 1, which is looking unlikely, then sure, Allen will be forced into a bigger role than the Colts had in mind, but that's what happens when you're missing your top 2 targets. Guys have to step up. Hopefully that won't be the case, and both Pierce and Warren will be out there, but we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. All right, that's going to do it for today. We've got one more joint practice, the last ever at the Westfield facility before the game on Saturday. Until then, make sure you check out fanarch.com, download Kalshi, and use code FANARCHFOOTBALL for a free $10. Like my video, subscribe to the Colts Latest channel. We've almost got real football, and let's go Colts!